Hello and welcome to this week's angling vlog. This week you join me on the banks of the river and we're in search of chub. As you can see behind me and on screen now, you do join me on a bitterly cold morning on the banks of the river. These are the mornings that I love getting out on the bank. My favourite time of year. The water is like glass and it's just all peaceful and quiet. For the past couple of days we've had temperatures down to -5 in some areas. Today it's a warming -3 on the gauge as we get in the car. Walking along the river, it's just beautiful to be beside such a beautiful setting. All that white, all the glistening of the sun on the frost. The river itself, gin clear, and as you can see in some parts in the slacks, the beating heart of the river has stopped and it has frozen over. So when it comes to choices about getting out of a weekend when conditions are like this, the venue is pretty much picked for you. The lakes and the canals are frozen over, so they are out of the question anyway. The river will be the last place to freeze, and as you can see from the opening shots, it's already beginning to do so in some areas. But venue wise, the river is the place to go. So with the venue picked, I will then turn my attention to the species, and for me it's pretty much grayling, dace, pike and chub. They are the species that I will target when conditions get this cold. The other thing that is vitally important, I feel, is going somewhere where you've got confidence. So we're going to a venue and a swim today where we've recently had good results catching a nice net of chub. You need to be going to somewhere where you're confident that the fish are there. At the end of the day, it's hard enough with the conditions. A fish today is the target, so make it as easy as you can. So with all that, let's waste no time at all and let's get to the swim. So one thing that's vitally important, I feel, is to do a lot of your prep at home. And what I've got here is my 12-foot core and glide, ready to go with the float on. Got my landing net. It's all on a dual band. You can see there, all secure and safe. It's got a strap to go over my shoulder. And all we've got to do now when I get to the peg is take them off, put the rod together and pull them up. Takes all the effort away for setting up on the bank and makes it a lot easier on a freezing cold day to set up. The rod that I'm using today is my 12 to 14 foot cord and glide, and today I'm fishing at a 12 foot. I've teamed that up with a switch reel, and on there I've got 4-pound line. That's down to one of the cord and fine liner floats in 0.8 gram. Got a bulk shot of Dinsmore number 4 weights, and that is to get the bait down in the water and be able to hold back and really slow that bait down. You've really got to be holding back in these cold conditions and give that bait as much time in the swim as possible. I've got one of the small swivels from Cordon, and that, if I move the weights up, can act as a bit of a dropper. The hook link that I'm using today is 2 pound 1 ounce line, nice and light because the water is gin clear, and that is down to a size 18 hook. So taking a look at the side tray, nice and simple. We've got some weights, I've got the plummet on the rod, we've got some Hinders hemp, some maggot, and during the week I've turned some caster as well. So I'm going to start on the caster because it's a nice heavy bait and it's a bait that chub like. So I'm going to start on maggot on the hook, and like last week, while we're getting ready, I'm just dropping some maggots into the swim so they go down. The swim from last week, we did learn it, it's quite shallow here and it slowly deepens off. So it's this area here we're going to look to target the chub. And showing how the cold can really affect things, it's taken about 40 minutes for the first bite. We've done exactly the same as the last session, drip fed baiting while we set up, but that is the impact that the real cold does have. But you can also see there, by targeting the right species, going places where you've got confidence, it gives you that confidence to carry on even when you don't get a bite on the first cast. And after 40 minutes of trotting the swim, the float is eventually buried and we're into a fish. One thing you have got to do today is make the most of every bite, because they are at a premium. So again, you've got to get all the chub out, but enjoy every battle, because you might only get one bite today. That is the impact it can have. And I am out today using a new type of hook, as you can see on screen now, the maggot hook from Cordon. That's the first fish ever caught on it. You can see there the fine lines between losing and catching. And like with all types of fishing, in bad conditions, you've got to have the mentality to get out of bed in the first place. Sometimes that can be the hardest bit. Waking up in the morning when it's bitterly cold and you're nice and warm, dragging yourself out of bed and getting out on the banks of the river can be the hardest part. But experience and doing it for so many years teaches you it's worth the effort. And there we go, a beautiful chub on an ice cold day. Time in the water is also a thing you've got to maximise at this time of year. Like I say, it's took 40 minutes to get a bite, so we won't hold him up for camera. We'll just have a look at him in the net and then we'll get back at it and see if we can get another. On the blog I try and share as many hints and tips as I possibly can, but one of the biggest secrets about going out on an ice cold day, if you get it right, it can be quite good. The very next trot down, we're into another. And with this type of fishing over the years, for me, effort has always equaled success. So with a nice balanced tackle, a lot of the prep done at home, it's quite pleasant sat here with a bend in the rod and hopefully connected to chub number 2. And on a nice cold day, you can't beat the lips of Mr. Chub breaking that oily surface and coming towards you. It's what got me out of bed this morning, seeing that sight. The second chub of the day, one happy Danny. So Mr. Chub unhooked, we're going to give him a good rest in the net and we'll have a quick look at him. And again, just going to keep them casters going in. I'm going to put a smidgen of hemp and a little tiny ball of that bread. There's obviously 1 or 2 fish now moved into the area, so hopefully we can have a good bit of fishing. Proper made up. Let's keep that bait going in, keep Mr. Chub and his mates happy down there, and we'll take a quick look at chub number 2. It's still bitterly cold, but as you can see, there is a bit of sun coming through now, but there's no warmth in it at all. You can see the condensation coming off my breath, but these chub don't mind. And hopefully this just shows that you can get out there, get your species right, get your venue right, and you can get 1 or 2 bites. And like with all types of fishing, little and often is always the way. On a cold day, a valuable piece in your armoury is patience. Took 40 minutes to get a bite. We had 2 quick bites. It's been another 40 minutes till the next one. And in that time I've rested the swim, fed the swim and tried to change my shotting pattern. But eventually another one of these chub has slipped up. Once you're on the bank, it's never as bad as it feels when you look out that front door. And that has probably eased a bit by a chub on the end and a bend in the rod. But it is quite special these days in winter where you're out in the freezing cold. And I can confirm one thing, unhooking that chub, he is absolutely ice cold. And for anyone who watched the blog recently when I talked about looking down a chub's mouth to know how many might be in the swim, you can see there just how many casters that chub has spat out in the net. So he's been getting quite a few of them, hasn't he? That leads me to believe that maybe there isn't that many down there because he's getting most of them casters. And again, that chub, like a block of ice. He goes down there to sulk with his 2 brothers and sisters. And hopefully, mum and dad are still out there. So again, a bit of a wait. It's been probably another 20 minutes and the float is buried again. And this one was right down the back of the swim, so that patience and perseverance paying off and well worth that effort getting out today. You can see the sun just on the water, just glinting off that rod. Just keep the rod low, tease it upstream like we keep doing, and hopefully we can get another chub on the bank. So there we go, chub number 4, and ice cold like the others. I say that patience and just waiting and keeping on feeding that swim and keeping that bait going in. Another one slipped up, but on a freezing cold day, that is a beautiful chub. That ice cold, then brassy flanks, and of course that big mouth. That's a beautiful chub, just glistening in the winter sun. So as you can see on screen now, we had 4 lovely chub from that other swim. you join me now in another swim, a brand new one. And because we've had a bend in the rod today, in winter it's all about finding them chub. So I've had my enjoyment. On the way back, I'm just trying to swim that I've never fished before, because you never know where these chub are going to go in winter. You see a beautiful snag at the end. It does look perfect. I'm just going to give it the last bit of the day in this swim. So time really has run out on this session. I really do hope you've enjoyed this vlog and some of the hints and tips that I do when it's freezing cold to get a bite. I don't always get it right, and that's fishing. An example of that is this swim. I've come into it hoping that there'd be some depth down the middle, but it's really shallow. The depth is right under my feet here, so I've got it completely wrong. I thought we could just go off the outside of it and that depth would continue all the way down. So not a disaster, because we have learned something from this swim, and I guess it shows you don't have to catch fish to learn, and you know when you're getting it wrong. I think any chub that would have been here would have been right under my feet here and in that slack. But that is an adventure for another time. All that remains is for me to say thank you very much for watching. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe. Tight lines in your own fishing, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.